Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Scotty Shaw, and today is day 15? Yeah, day 15 of 40 Days of K. The word today is enthusiasm, and this is something that I have a lot of in life. I might not be doing a good job putting this across on video, but it's not that I'm on video, it's that I'm sitting down. My issue is I don't know, I'm just not good when I'm sitting down. I gotta be moving all the time, just constant motion. So, I don't know, just trying to have some energy when I sit down. Here's the big thing. Um, Enthusiasm is it doesn't it doesn't mean pure optimism. A lot of people think you have to be all enthusiasm is always you're happy. I think it's more it's a kind of determination, honestly. Coach K calls he says enthusiasm is a great interest or excitement. When you're enthusiastic, you're a catalyst to those around you. Your unabashed love and emotion for what you're doing, is contagious. And this, you know, obviously could be happiness, optimism. It could also just be determination, that grind and grit. It could also be um, just this confidence. And there's a lot of different ways to show enthusiasm. Some people they just have this fire, they have this look in their eyes. Some people it's there's just this warmth about them. I think everyone has just different styles of enthusiasm. Mine's definitely more built around energy, being up and about, moving around. Um, even a phone call, I got to be moving. I can't sit down. Sitting down, I just feel stuck mentally. I can't think, I can't get stuff done. But whatever enthusiasm really is to each person, you can have a strong impact on others. And as opposed to the class of '86, which I've mentioned a few times, guys like Jay Billis, um, Mark Allery, Dave Henderson, Johnny Dawkins, and I should be looking this up. I always forget the fifth from that class. Um, yeah, I didn't. I mean, that was before, I was born, you know, November '86, so it's not like I would really know those players as well. Um, in fact, I would say probably 2000, 2001 is when I started to really understand Duke basketball. Not just here's the facts, but actually, you know, knowing it, 14, 15. But here's one of the big things. It wasn't just the class of '86. For Coach K, is also Chris Collins, class of '96. I'm pretty sure a couple videos back I mentioned, as Coach K did, in the '94-'95 season, he had to get surgery. Even his wife, Mrs. Krzyzewski, actually threatened to divorce him if he didn't stop coaching to get treatment and all that. It's just one of those, you know, we can't, me and the daughters, we can't be here if you're not willing to let us help you, um, stuff like that. And eventually it turned into, all right, I need to step down, get surgery. And that was Chris Collins' junior year. Um, so he was there with Bobby Hurley in '93, and then Grant Hill going 28-6 to the championship game, and then he was there for '95 going 13-18. So his senior year, 1996, um, Coach K said we had a great group of young men, but the talent level was not as high as other Duke teams I coached, and it makes sense. A lot of times that year before you're terrible, you're injured, you're out. I might go somewhere else. I want to know my coach is going to be healthy, So you end up in that situation. But the big thing about Chris Collins, as Coach K says, when he was a player, I saw the enthusiasm written across his face and it fueled me. I was lucky to coach him and now I'm fortunate to have him on my staff where he can share his enthusiasm for the game of basketball with our current players. And this is 2006. Chris Collins joined the team as an assistant coach, joined in 2000? Because he was there at the 2001. Yeah. In 2000, Chris returned to Duke as an assistant coach. So, I remember watching Chris Collins as a kid, but here's a big moment that I just wasn't watching. I was 10, no, 9 when this happened. This was early 96. January 1996. Basically, I couldn't find any clips on this, so you have to imagine it. But, in fact, I might as well just tell you the last 90 seconds, a minute and a half. NC State was ahead by 5, 68 to 63. And this is where Chris Collins, his unwavering enthusiasm, served as the emotional backbone for the rest of our team. So Jeff Capel drove the basket. Shot got blocked. The ball started to go out of bounds near half court. Chris Collins chased down the ball, jumped over the scorer's table to save it, and a teammate called Ricky Price caught it. But then Chris got back. He got up, ran back on the court, got the pass back from Ricky Price, and hit a 3. So now it's 68-66. NC State's up by only 2. So Duke fouled. NC State went through free throw line, made both free throws. Jeff Capel drove, scored. Now it's 70-80. NC State's up 2. 16 seconds left. Fouled again. NC State missed the front end of the one-on-one. Or 1-in-1. So Chris Collins got the ball. There's a play. He's supposed to hand the ball off to Ricky Price. But just like Bobby Hurley hitting that big 3 against UNLV in 91, the Final Four, Chris Collins comes up, realizes, I got this. Takes a shot, hits a 3. 6 seconds left. When he shoots this, it bounces around and it goes in. And Duke wins on the road in Raleigh, 71-70. And this was a make or break thing. They had already gone 0-4 in the conference, and it just felt like the direction was gonna, it's gonna trend towards 95 again. But if they win this in January, this is a big moment to just break that rut. And Chris Collins apparently he went insane. The last month of the season averaged 27 points a game. So Duke finished 8-8 in conference play. So started off 0-4 and then went on an 8-4 run. Finished 18-13 overall. And Duke got into the NCAA tournament, and no one was expecting it. Probably other than Chris Collins. And that set the tone because Chris Collins bridged from the 94, class of 86 all the way to the 94. And he bridged, through Coach K's injury. And then after he left, the next 5 seasons in a row, Duke won the conference regular season championship. In 1999, was back in the championship game, barely lost to UConn. Then that's where the story of Chris Carroll, Nate James, and Shane Battier come by. Hey, coach, how are you doing? And then won the championship in 2001. Considered. I remember actually I got to meet Shane Battier briefly in Miami once. There's a Duke alumni event, and I overheard him saying, according to stats, the 2001 is considered the most dominant championship Duke championship team. Coach K knows which team would win. He's never going to tell anyone, apparently. I would definitely love to, not for the sake of being able to brag if I'm, if I know, but just to, debate the basketball, because I really think 92 has a great argument because, coming off a repeat, they already know, or a championship in 91, they already know how to win. But, at the same time, 2001 was just amazing. So, hard to say, because even then, 91, you had a freshman, Grant Hill, junior, Christian Laettner, Bobby Hurley was a sophomore, and you still had some veteran leadership that, from other players as well. And then 2010, it was just a solid team. They had grown up together. it was the year after I graduated, so I know, for them losing the first round as freshmen, second round as sophomores, Sweet 16 as juniors, and to push through and beat all these teams, getting revenge for the previous years and winning the championship. And then 2015 was another great team. We have 5 championships, and Quinn Cook, he was one of those guys that he really took it upon himself to improve every game, every minute, every second, and it really rubbed off on the freshmen, not just the ones that came in being a big name, but Tyus Jones and Jaleel Okafor, but Justice Winslow stepped up, and this is where you get another high enthusiasm player, Grayson Allen, and undoubtedly he was the one who turned everything around for us in the 2015 championship game against Wisconsin. We were dead in the water, and out of nowhere, he just had this series of plays, just brought back this energy and shook up Wisconsin, and you could just feel that Grayson Allen was what we needed, and we're back on track. Now we had the momentum. There's a play where he chased down a loose ball and drew a foul on a Wisconsin player, got up and just started yelling, let's go, and it's just crazy because then he drives to the basket, draws fouls, he's just play after play.
Allen got a lot more time, had a 27-point game against Wake, and a foul on Trayvon Jackson.
Look at the hustle right in front of us. Allen made that play happen. Look at the intensity. I will never forget, you and I were in the office with Coach K, and he told us, he said he's not playing now, but he will be a star here at Duke. Look at this hustle. And there's the push down by Jackson. Good call by the official.
Great effort. Allen with the 3, Allen with the steal. Allen draws the foul.
When you think about the championship teams and teams that don't make it, you think about stuff like the class of '86 set the stage. Johnny Dawkins and Tommy Amakert to Quinn Snyder as a senior in '89, or freshman when '86 when the class of '86 is graduating. The '89 team, he leads Duke to the Final Four and trains up a freshman, Christian Laettner, who then creates the repeat. Then Chris Collins, he bridges from that first stretch to the second one where when he's graduating, his freshmen become seniors in the '99 team that almost wins the championship. And then after the '99 team, you get Chris Carroll, Nate James, and Shane Battier, and they come and win in 2001. And then I'll probably get to this later on, but from 2001 to the JJ Redick years, and then from there, one and done starts happen, and Duke has to retool and everything, and then you get for 2010 the seniors, you have Brian Zubek, Lance Thompson, John Shire, and I want to say Jordan Davidson was a 5th-year senior, so he might have been still on the team. And then for juniors, you had Kyle Singler and Nolan Smith, and then Andre Dawkins and Mason Plumlee as freshmen, and Miles Plumlee as a sophomore. And I know there are a few other players, but those are the ones I can think of because they were in the rotation the most. And then from there, guys like Kyrie, Austin Rivers, Jabari E. Parker. I want to say 2014 was Jason Tatum, I think. And then 2015, you get another championship. No, Jason Tatum was after the championship. Anyways, you always have these enthusiastic players. That energy, they impact everyone. It's not just they're hyping themselves; they're hyping everyone. And it's just one of those things. Chris Collins, Coach K says of him, I often refer to Chris as the bridge. He is the guy that led us over a difficult season and He is the guy that led us over a difficult season and connected the success of the 1994 Final Four team with the future success of Duke basketball. In 2000, Chris returned to Duke as an assistant coach. That 2000 to 2001 season, we won our 3rd national championship. I was so happy to share that with Chris Collins, who deserved it as much as any kid I have ever coached. Of his time at Duke, Chris has said, if there's one thing that I would like to be remembered for when I leave Duke, it's that that kid just really loved to play the game. And Duke fans will never forget the enthusiasm of Chris Collins. And like Coach said, it's not just being excited when you're winning 30 games. You know, it's also about when you're losing, keeping that enthusiasm. And when everyone's taking shots at you, Chris's enthusiasm was particularly impressive because he showed it at a very high level, even when it was difficult to do so. And I think for entrepreneurship, the stuff I'm doing, creating HackCOVID, running it every weekend, and just keeping things going and pushing the pace, making sure that every weekend people have a choice, a sense of hope and purpose. The stuff I've done with Tech Tree Root, creating all the hackathons in Texas and Oklahoma and South Central U.S., stuff that I did at Duke, that, it turned into what I've done now, the past 3.5 years now. Just creating these opportunities for others when there was nothing, creating everything here, and just in general saying, what is there that needs to be done? I'm going to do it. For me, it's not that, I wouldn't say this is the same as that passionate love people think of. For me, this is a mission. Someone has to do it. It might as well be me, because who else can do it? No one. I'm the only one who can do it, so I'm going to get it done. And for me, this also puts me in a position eventually to then start saying, I want to do more. Not just creating opportunities and resources for tech education, but saying, I want to start moving into different industries, or I want to do these things that previously could not be done. Or, for example, basketball marathon. Did that in undergrad. I would love to do that stuff again, but on a bigger scale. So that's the thing. Enthusiasm, it's just so important. It's not always about being happy and optimistic. It's also having that determination, that energy. Because if you define everything only as all the positive stuff as only being happy, I think it's very limiting. In fact, someone, a lot of times she would say, or I guess not to me, but on her social media, a lot of times I remember seeing, to define is the limit. And it comes from, blanking on the exact name. I think the book is called The Picture of Dorian Gray, or The Painting of Dorian Gray. I always forget if it's picture or painting. But the character Dorian Gray at one point says, to define is the limit. And it makes so much sense, because you don't want to just be one thing. You got to think outside the box, And when it comes to, are you happy or not? Yeah, you want to be happy, but you don't want enthusiasm to be just happiness. Sometimes that desire for revenge because someone beat you, you want to get them back. That can be enthusiasm as well. That energy can be very, very motivating. The anger, the pain of loss. And one story Shane Battier told, I think it was, the drill was called 17. You got 1 minute, you got to run sideline to sideline 17 times. And as a freshman, he once said, man, I hate this drill. And Wojo, who was the class of 97, I believe, so he knew Chris Collins and definitely learned from Chris Collins. He looked at Shane and said, you know what I hate more? Losing. Michael Jordan's the same way. He's always talking about, I've missed over 9,000 shots. I've lost again and again and again, and that is why I succeed. Dwayne Wade, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Numerically makes no sense, philosophically amazing. In the end, you got to take these shots. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, according to Wayne Gretzky and probably Michael Scott as well. But the main thing is, you got to have some kind of enthusiasm. You got to have some kind of motivation, some kind of drive, something that keeps you going. Will Smith in the movie Hitch.
Begin each day as if it were on purpose.
see a lot of his characters in movies. Chris Gardner, for example, in The Pursuit of Happiness, movie that changed my life, literally. There's a lot of stuff I've done in my life, literally just copied what the character did. And it's not always happiness. Sometimes it's just, there's a goal. I'm going to go for it, but I'm going to have that energy. I'm going to keep pushing for it, and I'm going to impact others. And in the end, when your energy starts to rub off on others, when you start to inject confidence into others, when they start to see you don't care how hard it is, you care about the risks so you can mitigate them. You care about the challenges so you can prepare for them, because in the end, you're still going to go forward and get it done. That's when a lot of people start to follow you as a leader. People start to follow your lead. People start coming to you saying, I want to be part of this. I want to join in. And I think that's what enthusiasm really is. It's not always about love. It's not always about happiness. But it's, like Coach K says, when you are enthusiastic, you are a catalyst to those around you. And that's basically it. Whatever emotion it is, whatever your steadfastness, or maybe it's just you just have this quiet determination. In the end, your enthusiasm that's what brings people along and gets them to follow along. So obviously, enthusiasm is much easier to show through movements, through energy. It's harder for people to catch that enthusiasm when you're quiet and still. Not to say you can't do it, but I do think enthusiasm is something that there are moments, regardless of how introverted, antisocial, quiet you are, there are moments where if you use it right, that energy can really get people going. It's like if you have that quiet player on the team, never says anything, bench warmer, like Grayson Allen, for example. And he steps in, biggest moment, everyone's shaking, everyone's just dead in the water, and suddenly he's the one that's just pounding the ball, getting stuff done, and yelling, just getting everyone fired up. When he chases down a loose ball, draws a foul, and he's just yelling, "Let's go!" That's the biggest stage of that person's life up to that moment. They're ready to go, and you got to follow along. And hopefully I can find some clips of Chris Collins, but definitely including that clip for Grayson Allen. That's just such a good one. There's no way I don't put him in. But that's the big thing, enthusiasm. Keep pushing forward. Just do your best. Feeds into the word for tomorrow, which is excellence. So, yeah, everyone take that home with you. Enthusiasm. What your goals are. Wake up with a purpose. Push towards that purpose. And as you start to succeed, people will follow along. And eventually you will achieve excellence. So, I'll see you guys tomorrow.
I'm going to have to score. Jones, Cook, and Allen.
Allen feeling it.
Are you serious? Are you serious? How good is he? How good is he? We're watching Koenig and Allen. A star is being born here, Dan. A star is being born. And they love him. Grayson Allen.
This is a freshman who on the season only averaged 9 minutes a game. And look at him taking over in the national championship game. He's
a star being born, man. The nation's going to get to know this kid, number 3.
Beyond the arc. Allen becoming the go-to guy right now as he draws another foul.
Wow. Wow. Allen has been sensational. Look at him drive right here. Look at his drive to the goal. Determined. What desire. What desire. Coach K's got to love it. Look at him. Look at Coach K. 12 Final Fours, 4 national titles.
You know he can shoot it, but we have seen time and time again tonight. I mean, he can drive it as well, and he is finishing strong. And Mike Krzyzewski will come out of the timeout with Jahlil Okafor and Justice Winslow still on the bench, each with 3 fouls.
Tell you what, I'm really impressed with how cool he is, Allen, in terms of so confident, playing with a great deal of confidence. His play has allowed him to manage the time and keep Okafor and Winslow on that sideline.
He is now the high scorer.
You know, Okafor's got all the notoriety, and deservedly so. Look at this. They got Decker now playing on Jones.
Allen counted another driving layup for Grayson Allen.